I never imagined I would feel this kind of uncertainty inside my own home. It had been a quiet evening, the sort where your thoughts echo louder than the sounds around you. Rebecca, my wife of 6 years, sat across from me at the kitchen table, hands curled around a mug of tea, her gaze fixed on some distant point I couldn't see. The tension between us hung thick, almost visible. For weeks, a suspicion had been gnawing at me, an irritating unease that I tried to ignore during the day, but that came back stronger every night.
Patrick.
His name had slipped into conversations. The way she smiled at her phone, the slight shift in her laughter. None of it felt accidental anymore. I didn't want to believe anything was happening, but I couldn't keep brushing it aside. Finally, I asked her, trying to keep my tone steady, almost casual. "Rebecca, do you love him?" She looked at me like I had said something absurd. "Who?" she replied, pretending not to understand, though something flickered in her eyes, something she couldn't hide. I kept my gaze locked on hers. "Patrick," I said evenly. And then she fell quiet. A silence, so heavy it seemed to push the air out of the room, making it hard to breathe. I waited. Each second dragged into the next, stretching unbearably long. That silence was her answer. She didn't need to say a word. The truth drifted over me like a cold shadow. My pulse hammered in my ears as heartbreak and anger collided inside me. I wanted to shout, demand an explanation, but I stayed where I was, letting the silence speak for her. After what felt like forever, she finally murmured, her voice barely holding together. I don't know." Those 3 words fractured the trust we had spent years building. Memories crashed over me. The nights we dreamed about our future, the plans we carefully shaped, the life we imagined together. And now it all seemed fragile, like it had shattered under the weight of her doubt. I pushed back my chair and stood, fighting to control the storm of emotion rising in my chest. "Don't lie to me," I said, my voice firm. "Don't sugarcoat this. I deserve the truth, even if it hurts." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't respond. I could see everything she was too afraid to say. The guilt, the hesitation, the burden of a secret she could no longer hide. It felt like the room itself was waiting, holding its breath for a confession that would change everything. At last, she whispered, "I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't know what I wanted." Her voice broke, and she let the rest fall away. My stomach knotted. The betrayal was real, but so was her pain. In that moment, I realized love and loyalty aren't always clean or simple. Sometimes people make choices they can't undo. I didn't want to hate her, even though anger surged through me. I didn't want to destroy her, but pretending nothing had changed wasn't an option either. For hours, we sat in silence. The only sounds were the occasional sigh, the low hum of the refrigerator, and the faint noise of traffic drifting in from outside. I began to understand that what happened wasn't only about Patrick. It was about us, about the cracks we ignored, the needs that went unspoken, the distance that slowly grew. By the time the night neared its end, I made a decision. I couldn't act like everything was fine, but I also couldn't walk away without knowing whether what we had could be repaired. Quietly, but with conviction, I told her, "We need time. We need honesty. And we need to figure out whether what we have is still worth saving." She nodded, tears running down her cheeks, finally lifting her eyes to meet mine. It wasn't a solution. It wasn't forgiveness. But it was the start of something real, a conversation about truth, love, and whether we could find our way back to each other, or if the space between us had grown too wide to cross. As the night deepened, I realized silence has a language of its own. Sometimes the absence of an answer speaks louder than any confession could. And in that uncomfortable stillness, I found a strange sense of clarity. Whatever came next, I would face it with honesty and courage, no matter how painful the truth might be.